As I worked with clients this past year in our agency program, helping them build or scale their expert businesses, one factor stood out between the successful and those who struggled. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly what that success factor was and how I'm learning from it as well. Two of our clients, let's call them Struggling Steve and Successful Sally, had different outcomes in their expert businesses. Both were well qualified and successful in their careers, Steve in real estate and Sally in a therapy practice. Both had solid ideas for taking their businesses online. As I worked with both of them on strategy, helping them build what we call their expert business blueprint, the detailed plan for their business, both were proceeding nicely. Within a few weeks, hints of the differences between the two of them started cropping up. Sally had already been publishing a weekly podcast episode for a year before joining our programs. Steve had done some sporadic content. As they started into the first phase of our agency program, one of the main activities is providing input around branding, messaging, course outlines, and content. Successful Sally always consistently provided the input we needed, while also consistently publishing her podcast every single week. She was a busy therapist and mom, but published like clockwork. Struggling Steve, on the other hand, was also busy, but he struggled to provide the raw input that we needed. In our agency program, we have a team of up to 10 part-time resources that are assigned to our clients. Think tech guy, copywriting gal, editing guy, etc. All they need is the raw input and expertise from the client, and then they do the rest. But without that raw input, it's like having a Ferrari with an empty gas tank. The difference in results compounded very quickly. Sally, since she was building and publishing, started to see success with her audience growth and revenue growth pretty quickly. Within 6 months, we'd helped her double her email list and launch 2 new online courses, which started to grow her revenue. Steve used up his time in the program on just the first 2 of our 9 steps. Even with the team, the tools, and the systems we provide, he wasn't able to build and launch his program. What was the difference between the two? Both were highly qualified and had solid business plans. Both were in niches that were, where there were plenty of successful online businesses. Both had access to the same team, tools, and systems. One was successful and the other was not. What was the difference between the two? Successful Sally took consistent, decisive action, which was then amplified by her team. In this example, my agency. Every single week, no matter how busy, she provided the input we needed to help her and recorded her weekly podcast episode, which we then edited and published. Struggling Steve tried, but was never able to consistently provide the input we needed and barely produced any raw content for us to edit and amplify. As time went on, the compounding effects of consistency is what helped Sally reach her goals. As I've worked with clients, participated in some high-end masterminds in this space, and interviewed 7- and 8-figure expert business owners, this is one of the biggest indicators of success: consistent, decisive action. When you look at Russell Brunson, Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, who I've interviewed, Chris Ducker, who I've also interviewed, and many, many more, they all point to their consistency of action as one of the key factors to their success. Publishing content is one of the key action steps. In this particular example, for all of them, a podcast was one of their key channels, but the lesson holds true for YouTube channels, blogs, and every social channel. If you're struggling with consistency, that's okay. We all do. I've made some of the same mistakes. As the agency was growing last year, we saw success with our advertising strategy and had a lot of clients signing up for our full done-for-you program. I was super busy building our team and being a strategic advisor to those clients. I faded from publishing content consistently. This slowed our audience growth, and then that wave of new customers started to ebb. The key is not what has already happened, but what you make happen from here forward. I will publish this podcast at least weekly starting now. What consistent, decisive action will you take? Pick one thing from these 3 critical categories. Either content and growing your audience, pitching and selling your programs, or supporting and ascending your customers to higher end programs. Consistent, decisive action in those areas is the key to growing from struggling solopreneur to successful virtual CEO.